You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now. A long time ago, English football was notorious for pitches that became autumnal mud baths, frozen hard in midwinter and then cracked bare during the late spring heat waves. And all of this was bad for players' bodies, bad for passing football, and bad for business. So, in an effort to keep playing in the depths of winter, clubs would cover their pitch with thousands of bales of straw and warm it with braziers. Neither really worked that well. In the Great Freeze of 1963, Halifax Town gave up completely and just turned the Shea Stadium into a public ice rink. Everton were the first club to try and tackle the problem, installing electrical underpitch heating in 1958. The heating was great, but the huge body of water released by melting ice overwhelmed the primitive drainage system of Goodison Park. Both heating wires and drains had to be removed, and the whole thing started all over again. All of which was of course expensive, and few clubs followed suit. In the early 1970s, Leicester City experimented with the Polysphere, a huge inflated poly tunnel placed over the pitch and warmed by fan heaters. In the 1980s, QPR, Luton Town, Oldham and Preston installed the second generation of artificial turf. One step up from the original AstroTurf developed in the USA in the 1960s, 2G pitches were criticised for the uneven and excessive bounce, unfair home advantage and skin burns. They were banned by the Football League in 1995. But nearly 30 years later, the English football pitch has been transformed. New money, new horticulture techniques, driven by coaches' demand for fast football and broadcasters for pristine grass, have ensured that the pitches of the Premier League are flat and fast all year round. So, how do you make the perfect football pitch? Well, first things first, clear and level your site. Lay a permeable membrane and deep drainage pipes. Then cover with free draining substrates of sand and gravel and ensure that it's level. Number 2 is heating. Of course, unlike the first generation of heating pipes that were either on or off, everywhere or nowhere, today's systems can heat different parts of the pitch to different temperatures at different times. Together with pitch-wide heat sensors, the system can be turned up to stimulate growth in areas that are harder worn or experiencing lower temperatures, and turned down where the grass is growing too quickly. You might even want to add an additional set of piping above this for automatic irrigation, and pipes too for your automatic sprinklers. Number 3 is substrate. Now cover your piping and your drains with a substrate of sand and gravel, topped up with sandy clean soil, say 20 centimeters deep. And then get it absolutely flat, and at last, you're ready for some grass. Number 4, turf. You can grow your pitch from scratch in the stadium, but better to leave this to the experts, the firms that specialise in growing, cutting and laying football pitch turf. If it's cold, choose a cool season species like perennial ryegrass or Kentucky bluegrass. In the tropics, go for Bermuda grass, zoysius or seashore paspalum. Perhaps experiment with the new varieties that have been developed to cope better with shade, grow at higher shooting density, or have been bred for faster recovery after cutting and playing. And wait 14 months for your turf to be grown, cut, folded and delivered, and then at lightning speed, lay it and leave it at least a metre beyond where the goal and touchlines will be. Close the gaps between the sods, roll them flat, water and let it settle. 5. Stitching. Even turf as high quality as this breaks down under constant use. So to make it more resilient, polyethylene fibres are woven into the turf and its substrate by a fleet of electric stitching machines. Making up about 3% of the surface area of the pitch, around 2 million fibres are sent 20 centimetres below the pitch and threaded back up again. The roots of the natural grass then grow around them, anchoring them into the soil. 6 is maintenance. So now your pitch is laid, you need to look after it. Stadiums are enclosed spaces, so the air circulates slowly and wind is rare, and both of those are bad for grass. The grass becomes lazy, wilting and falling over. So you'll need a set of very large fans blowing over your turf. Light and slow growth can be a problem too, especially on the parts of the pitch shaded by the stadium's roof and stands. Huge lighting rigs are the answer to that. and the kind of software that can alter the intensity of light falling on the turf as the rigs move across it. So now your grass is growing nicely, but so too are mosses, fungi, and lateral grass roots. So sweep them out with a scarification machine. Top spread regularly with fertilizers, adapted to the condition of the turf and the climate. Add sand and fine soil particles to keep the turf topped up, and when you need to, reseed worn areas, maybe 3 times a season. Finally, keep your turf open to air currents and water flows by punching small holes in the surface manually and mechanically. 7. Mowing. Now for the best bit. Modern mowers are accurate to within a single millimetre. UEFA specifies pitches should be between 24 and 28 millimetres for its tournaments. But some coaches and clubs prefer it even shorter for super quick ball movement. Either way, don't cut the grass down all in one go. If you do, it will weaken the turf and some of it will turn yellow. So, take off 2 millimetres each day using your big rotary mowers and aim to take off the last 2 millimetres on the morning of match day, using old school pedestrian mowers. Oh, and choose your mowing pattern and keep to it. As grass blades are matte on one side and glossy on the other, the direction in which they are mowed produces the characteristically different tones of checkerboard pitch, or in the case of Leicester City in the 2010s, diagonals and diamonds. But sadly no more. FIFA, UEFA and the Premier League have got much stricter and permit only horizontal and vertical stripes. Now add pitch markings, 2 coats a minimum, put up the goals and nets, and you're ready to go. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.